Hello? Can you hear me? No?
Start.
Okay, now?
Good.
Okay, hi everyone. My name is Alaa Salama. I'm the audience engagement manager at Plus 972 magazine.
And my name is Haggai Matar. I'm the executive director of 972 and the co-director of Local Call.
These are two media outlets, one in English, the other one in Hebrew, where Jewish and Palestinian journalists can work together to bring forth groundbreaking journalism with a deep commitment to a vision of liberation, justice, and equality.
We are a team of journalists, but in none of our lifetimes did journalism feel as important as it does to us today. We are living through a reality where 1,000 miles to the east of us right now, a genocide is being live-streamed to the world and has been ongoing for 2 years. Over 65,000 Palestinians have been killed in the Gaza genocide, and that is only the number of confirmed deaths. This is only the number of people whose bodies have been found and recognized. Thousands more are lying under the rubble and cannot be rescued. Thousands more, probably tens of thousands, have died from reasons that are not directly from the violence of the Israeli attacks, but rather from the medical conditions that would otherwise be treatable and are not treatable because of the attacks against Gaza people, and especially against the system of healthcare in Gaza, as our friends from MSF so well know. That reality, which means that at least 3% of the population of Gaza has been killed, a reality where probably that number is actually doubled according to experts. That reality is one where numbers become abstract almost, and yet we know that each of these people are live human beings that have now lost their lives, unique, irreplaceable human beings whose lives are now lost because of this blazing attack. That reality that we've seen supported and facilitated by Israeli leadership, even most of Israeli opposition, politicians, much of Israeli media, the Israeli military, and its allies abroad, is one of the worst developments, probably the worst development in our own histories personally. It has been called a genocide because this accumulation of reality, the development from seeing the politicians calling to wipe out and erase the population in Gaza, through the soldiers, through the actions on the ground, to the reality that we're hearing from Palestinians and what they're experiencing, has been recognized as a genocide by the UN, by leading Israeli and Palestinian and international organizations, by scholars of genocide and many others. It is a genocide that's happening right now. Our own reporting has testified to this. Back in May of 2024, an investigation by Local Call team members Meron Rapaport and Oren Ziv exposed how the destruction in Gaza is not just a side effect of the war, but an actual deliberate plan, where one by one, city by city, the Israeli forces are just erasing the possibility to sustain life, erasing infrastructure, erasing homes, erasing every single structure that would enable people to live there. We have seen the city of Rafah, where the army said it was just leading a campaign against Hamas, but soldiers told our reporters, they said, the goal is that the return of people to these spaces is something that will never happen. That was the reality of Rafah, that was once supposed to be a safe place for people to go after they fled from the north. And now Rafah is in ruins. It is happening city by city by city, to Beit Lahia, to Beit Hanun, and now the ancient Gaza city itself. We have also been able to report about the increasing use of horrific AI systems. Our report from April of 2024, so long ago it feels now, about the AI system called Lavender that has been targeting tens of thousands of people, producing thousands of targets every day for the army to attack, where live human beings are only approving the targets with under 20 seconds of checking whether the target is male or female. If it's male, great, bomb them. We know that the collateral damage that was once supposed to be lower in Israeli campaigns in Gaza is now approved at a much higher level. We're seeing at least 20 people killed, approved to be killed for every attack. For some higher commanders in Hamas, when the army attacks, it has approval to kill 100 to 300 people per one target. The collateral damage is built into the system. On top of that, another system of AI called Where's Daddy, a cynical name, is meant to target people, targets from Hamas, when they are in their homes. People that were once used to be attacked when they were outside of their homes in the street to limit collateral damage. Now this AI system tries to target them when they are intentionally in their homes with their families, which is why we've seen hundreds of entire extended Palestinian families just wiped off the face of the earth with no one left to remember them. We have also seen in recent months another investigation that has shown that the army's own data accepts that over 80% of the people killed in Gaza are civilians. And that report was included in the UN's recent report that the genocide is taking place.
It's often said that in war, the first victim is the truth. And this could not be more true in Gaza. From October 7th, the Israeli media, most of the Israeli media fell in line. Right away, the Israeli media and journalists were very clearly echoing the genocidal language of the Israeli government. Language of revenge, of mass murder, of dehumanization of Palestinians in the Strip. This too was happening worldwide. Mainstream media worldwide used dehumanizing language, but they also fell behind in doing what they need to be doing as journalists. Not giving context, for example, or reporting rumors without verification. Many of these rumors turned out to be untrue right away, but 2 years later, we still hear of them because, as we know, when a lie gets out, it's almost impossible to erase. From day one of the war, international journalists have been banned from Gaza. And so the burden of telling what's happening there has fallen on the shoulders of Palestinian journalists. Many of them are professionals, but the majority of them are not. They're new journalists now. And without those people using their cell phones, using what shabby internet connections they have to tell the truth, we simply would not know what is happening in Gaza. And Israel knows this. Israel knows this, and this is why Israel has so far killed over 200 journalists in Gaza. And we know for a fact now, based on reports and based on investigations that we ourselves have published, that this is deliberate. We know that the Israeli army has a so-called legitimization cell where its purpose is to basically find any connection possible between any journalist and Hamas in some way or another, so that it can justify putting these journalists on kill lists and in many cases actually murdering these journalists. This is PR. This is the Israeli media, the Israeli military seeing the media as an extension of the battlefield, which is actually what sources in the Israeli intelligence have said to us. Of course, this has not only happened in Gaza. This is what Israel is doing pretty much all over. Just recently, a few weeks ago, in an attack on 2 newspapers in Yemen, Israel killed 31 journalists at once. The Committee to Protecting Journalists says that since 2016, 1 in every 6 journalists killed worldwide was killed by Israel. Of course, Hamas is not without fault. On October 7th, 4 Israeli journalists were killed, but also our own Palestinian journalists in Gaza tell us of restrictions on the freedom of press there.
The work we've been doing at 972 and Local Call has, in some instances, been central to how the world now understands this war, this genocide. It is no coincidence, because the founding stories of our sites are deeply linked to Gaza. 972 magazine was founded by a group of mostly Israeli journalists in 2010 as a response to the failures of mainstream journalism in the 2009 Gaza war to report properly, to understand, to offer context about the reality on the ground, the one-state reality of apartheid between the Jordan River and the Mediterranean Sea, where Israel controls the entire territory. That understanding, that context has always been missing from so much of the reporting, and therefore skews the understanding of why we are trapped in this circle of one after another war. That is why 972 started with some Israeli journalists and Palestinian journalists joined. They all kept their day jobs. It started as a volunteer project, basically, of people spending whatever little time they had to do a little bit of reporting, to offer the context and the analysis needed that was so much missed. And we immediately got incredible reception for our reporting. Several years after that, in 2014, the team behind 972 partnered with another team, Just Vision, to create Local Call, a Hebrew language platform that does basically the same, challenging the Israeli mainstream media in Hebrew and exposing the context and the stories and the people that were otherwise silenced, the communities that were otherwise erased. We started Local Call thinking, because of the Israeli media landscape, because of Israeli politics, that if we hit 30,000 readers in the first year with just a bunch of volunteers doing some reporting, it would be incredible. But shortly after Local Call was started, in the summer of 2014, the second big Gaza war took place, and we had 500,000 readers within the first few months of our launch, because we were the only platform to have people in Gaza, Palestinians, reporting on a daily basis on their reality. This is still the case. To this day, Local Call is the only place where there's daily reporting from within Gaza, or any reporting from within Gaza by Palestinian journalists. That reality has bolstered both these sites over the years. When they started as volunteer projects, over the years they've professionalized, while making sure that we are starting to pay team members. We now have a larger paid staff, but also keeping to high standards of journalism, to our values of believing in justice, in accountability, in freedom and equality for all the people between the river and the sea. And in so doing and in so growing, we made sure that we are committed to both the journalistic standards and our principles. That was how we were so poised to deal with the reality of the past 2 years. From the very beginning of October the 7th, when we learned of the Hamas-led attack that has murdered 1,200 Israelis, took 250 hostages, learning about the awful massacres of families in their homes, of people at a party, of migrant workers. From the minute that took place, our entire team was synchronized in 3 basic understandings. One was that these are war crimes and we reject them wholeheartedly, that they cannot be justifiable in any way. 2, that as journalists, we have no choice but to always offer context, that context does not equate to justification. We have to understand that before October 7th, there was October 6th, the reality of ongoing apartheid and siege and oppression and killing that has led to October 7th. And we also knew that these cycles of violence that are going unstopped, where Israeli leaders can do whatever they want unchecked, will lead to another war. We knew where we were going, which was the third realization, that as much as we need to immediately oppose what had just happened, the massacre of October 7th, we already need to start opposing what is about to happen. The war, the needless war, which we did not know would turn into a genocide, we knew we would need to oppose that as well. Those 3 points of both analytical and moral clarity, of believing in the rights and freedoms of all people in our region, have been the North Star of our reporting through these years. More than war, genocide needs extraordinary propaganda, and genocide dictates that journalism must take must take itself seriously. What we have been doing as partners, as Palestinians and Israeli partners who do not believe in just coexistence, because there is no coexistence under a system of racial supremacy, of Jewish supremacy. What there is co-resistance. We are partners in resisting this reality. We are partners in objecting it. We are partners in fighting against the apartheid and the genocide. And in this reality, we are prioritizing reporting, analysis, investigations, and we are making an impact. Just 2 days ago, our reporting about Microsoft and the complicity of big tech companies has led Microsoft to announce that it is pulling back its servers from an Israeli intelligence unit that has been using them to record and save the phone calls of all Palestinians and to use... Thank you. They have been using Microsoft servers in the Netherlands and Ireland to coordinate attacks using those phone calls to pinpoint attacks on targets. Our investigation of 972 local call and The Guardian together has exposed this a couple of months ago, and with sustained reporting, now Microsoft has announced that it is kicking the Israeli intelligence off its servers, making it much more of a pariah state and a pariah reality that everyone needs to oppose.
Like Haggai said, our work has always been committed to liberation and to justice and equality for all people living between the river and the sea, and for Palestinian refugees living in exile. But also, since the beginning of the genocide in Gaza, our focus has been almost completely on what is happening there. This has been possible thanks to the incredible work of our journalists in Gaza. Journalists like Mahmoud Mushtaha and Muhammad Muhawish, who have written for us, who have sent us reports from underneath the bombings, from tents, from times they were running for their lives, from times they were searching for food and water. Early in the assault on Gaza, Muhawish's house was bombed, and he and his family, including a 3-year-old son, were rescued from under the rubble. Thankfully, both Muhawish and Mushtaha have been evacuated from Gaza, but they still have family there, they still have friends there, and they still write for us, and they still report about Gaza. Right now inside Gaza, our friend and journalist who writes under a pseudonym, Ahmed, is stuck in Gaza City, unable to evacuate himself and his family. But also for most of the time unable to reach us because there is a media blackout. For days we lose contact with Ahmed, and for days the whole team stays trying to get back to him and to hear from him, and he always comes back, thankfully, with more stories and more reports. Also from Gaza, the Ibtisam Mahdi, our journalist and the feminist activist, reports about the daily life in Gaza, the struggle to find water and safety. We also have Ruwaida Amr, who is a teacher and a journalist, who has written to us about what is happening there, about the devastation, about the destruction of the most important heritage sites in Gaza. And also about the struggle of everyday people, about the struggle of her as a teacher trying to teach children after almost every school was bombed and turned into rubble. Many times, these reporters have to report about their lives as well. Not long ago, Ruwaida had to write for us about the killing of her friend and our colleague, who was killed in Al-Nasser hospital during a double tab attack, where the hospital was bombed basically first, and then people would go and try to rescue people, and journalists would go, and then another attack would happen. And an investigation that we published found that these double tab attacks are actually policy in Israeli media. In the West Bank, too, our reporters many times find themselves becoming the story as well. Only 2 weeks ago, Basil Adra, our West Bank reporter, had his house raided by the Israeli army and had his family terrorized by the Israeli army. Basil, who also won an Oscar for co-directing the documentary No Other Land, like Ruwaida, had to write for us only a few weeks ago about the killing of a colleague and his friend and a Plus 972 contributor, Auda Hathalin, who was murdered in a settler attack on his village in Masafir Yatta. Our reporter, our Israeli field reporter, Oren Ziv, too, found himself stuck in a firefight between a Hamas fighter and the Israeli army once. But also throughout his work in the West Bank, he's been attacked several times by both Israeli settlers and the Israeli army. These journalists are part of our daily life. We do everything that we can to support them. But we also do everything we can to get their work out to reach as many people as possible, because again, we know that without these people doing this incredible work, while also fighting for their lives, while also trying to survive, the world would simply not know what is happening.
That reality is one that on the one hand we take pride in. We take pride in the work we do, in the fact that such a small team, we're just 20 people across the two sites doing everything, from management and finances to the reporting on the field to audience engagement. We're just 20 people doing all this work, putting out these investigations. It's something we take a lot of pride in, on the one hand. On the other hand, we're deeply, deeply ashamed for our entire profession. The reality where journalists around the world, and especially Israeli journalists, are showing so little solidarity with their colleagues in Gaza, are showing so little commitment to the truth and to the context and the essential facts of what is happening on the ground, the value of life of people on the ground, and the possibility of a different future. That reality where mostly corporate media and state-owned media, out of fear of losing commercials, out of fear of losing viewers, out of fear of their owners or of the stock prices, are putting aside the truth and the commitment to what they should be doing, the actual journalism they should be doing, and leaving such a huge gap where independent media is stepping in. And there are independent media outlets walking in that gap, bridging that gap, filling the void. We're trying to do that ourselves without any billionaire owners, without anything like that. We are reliant mostly on members. We have thousands of members who support us on a monthly basis. We have several diverse, larger donors. It is that reality which makes us accountable mostly to our readers, exclusively to our readers, which allows us to do this work. These investigations on AI, on double tap attacks, excuse me, on the attacks on the ICC, Microsoft, the stories we've been talking about, how Israel is trying to target the ICC and discredit it and take away its legitimacy. All these kinds of reporting are made possible because we have support from readers and because we are independent. We don't owe anyone anything but ourselves. It also means that what we can do is focus on the stories of people that are not glamorous. We are focusing on the stories of people on the ground who are trying to resist in everyday tools. Some of them are our own journalists who are trying to survive a famine and a starvation and are trying to walk through life teaching when there is no schools. Others are the people who are choosing resistance, Palestinians and Israelis, conscientious objectors who go to prison rather than go to serve in the Israeli army, activists who are trying to build a different future, a shared future, an equal future for both peoples in our land. That is something we think is absolutely essential, and we would not be able to do that without our supporters. I think it's something that independent journalism can teach so much to journalists in the mainstream, and we're trying to do that. We're trying to not only hold governments to account, big tech to account, but also media outlets to account. Thank you. We would be amiss if we would just stand here talking about our journalism, talking about how proud we are of that work, and standing on the stage. We think a time of genocide is also a time for direct calls. We think there are things that need to happen right now, and we cannot but speak to those things. We call on world leaders to first and foremost end the genocide, let aid in, evacuate the sick and wounded, lift the siege, end the weapons trade with Israel, hold war criminals accountable for their crimes, sanction the regime of apartheid and genocide and occupation. Help us to end the war and the horror, free the hostages and all Palestinian prisoners, and to start rebuilding Gaza.
We also call on you, our colleagues, to support our colleagues in Gaza. Call for their protection. Call for you to be able to be allowed to go into Gaza. We also call on you to trust their reporting, to keep focus on what is happening there, and to reach out to them in every way possible. We also ask you to hold Israel account, as you would with any other regime, with any other nation that is committing genocide, and to hold your own governments account, because your own governments are too complicit and are supporting a regime that is committing genocide. And lastly, please offer context. October 7th was not the first day in history. There was October 6th. Please, in your reporting, in your work, offer context. Tell people why we are where we are.
And also uplift the voices of people who are trying to create something different. There are people, we are few, there are not many of us. It is really, really hard to be on the ground and fight for something else, not just resist what is happening now, but imagine a future where both our peoples can share this land in dignity, in liberation, in justice, in equality. We are fighting for that. Give us a voice, help us uplift these voices. Thank you very much.
Thank you.